a waterfall. Don't know if you can see it, but careful, we're having some tripod issues. Alright, it's Canto 3, Chapter 2. Alright. And then invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Verse 15. The personality of Godhead, the all-compassionate controller of both the spiritual and material creations, is unborn. But when there is friction between his peaceful devotees and persons who are in material modes of nature, he takes birth, just like fire, accompanied by the Mahatattva. It's a little doggy. Bob. The devotees of the Lord are by nature peaceful because they have no material hankering. A liberated soul has no hankering, and therefore he has no lamentation. One who wants to possess also laments when he loses his possession. Devotees have no hankerings for material possessions and no hankerings for spiritual salvation. They are situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord as a matter of duty, and they do not mind where they are or how they have to act. Karmis, Gyanis and Yogis all hanker to possess some material or spiritual assets. Karmis want material possessions, Gyanis and Yogis want spiritual possessions, but devotees do not want any material or spiritual assets. They want only to serve the Lord anywhere in the material or spiritual worlds that the Lord desires, and the Lord is always specifically compassionate towards such devotees.
Thoughts, anything?
No.
The karmis, gyanis, and yogis have their particular mentalities in the modes of nature, and therefore they are called ittara, or non-devotees. These ittaras, including even the yogis, sometimes harass the devotees of the Lord. Durvasa Muni, a great yogi, harassed Maharaj Ambarish because the latter was a great devotee of the Lord. And the great Karmi and Gyani Hiranyakashipu even harassed his own Vaishnava son, Prahlad Maharaj. There are many instances of such harassment of the peaceful devotees of the Lord by the ittaras. When such frictions take place, the Lord, out of his great compassion towards his pure devotees, appears in person, accompanied by his plenary portions, controlling the Mahatattva. Plenary portions controlling the Mahatattva means the Vishnu forms. And so it's interesting, the ittaras are the atheistic class, or those who are non-devotees, not necessarily atheistic, I guess, but non-devotees. Durvasa Muni probably wasn't atheistic, but they have a tendency to give trouble to the devotees. So there you go.
Mm. The Lord is everywhere in both the material and spiritual domains, and he appears for the sake of his devotees when there is friction between his devotee and the non-devotee. As electricity is generated by friction of matter anywhere and everywhere, the Lord, being all-pervading, appears because of the friction of devotees and non-devotees. When Lord Krishna appears on a mission, all his plenary portions accompany him. When he appeared as the son of Vasudeva, there were differences of opinions about his incarnation. Some said he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some said he is an incarnation of Narayan. And others said he is the incarnation of Shiradakshay Vishnu. But actually, he is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna tu Bhagavan Swayam. And Narayan, the Purushas, and all other incarnations accompany him to function as different parts of his pastimes. Mahad Amsa Yukta indicates that he is accompanied by the Purushas, who create the Mahatattva. It is confirmed in the Veda.
Mahatanwa.
Tanwa?
It says Tanwa. It says
Tattva. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It is confirmed in the Vedic hymns Mahantam Vibhum Atmanam.
Lord Krishna appeared just like electricity when there was friction between Kamsa and Vasudeva and Ugrasen. Vasudeva and Ugrasen were the Lord's devotees, and Kamsa, a representative of the Karmis and Gyanis, was a non-devotee. Krishna, as he is compared to the sun. He first appeared from the ocean of the womb of Devaki, and gradually he satisfied the inhabitants of the places surrounding Mathura. Just as the sun enlivens the lotus flower in the morning, after gradually rising to the meridian of Dwarka, the Lord set like the sun, placing everything in darkness as described by Uddhav.
Text 16. When I think of Lord Krishna, how he was born in the prison house of Vasudeva, although he is unborn, how he went away from his father's protection to Vraj and lived there incognito at a fear of the enemy, and how, although unlimitedly powerful, he fled from Mathura in fear, all these bewildering incidents give me distress.
Who's speaking here?
Uddhav. Purport. Because Lord Sri Krishna is the original person from whom everything and everyone has emanated, aham sarvasya prabhava janmadi yasya yata, nothing can be equal to or greater than him. The Lord is supremely perfect, and whenever he enacts his transcendental pastimes as a son, a rival, or an object of enmity, he plays a part so perfectly that even pure devotees like Uddhav are bewildered. For example, Uddhav knew perfectly well that Lord Sri Krishna is eternally existent and can neither die nor disappear for good, yet he lamented for Lord Krishna. All these events are perfect arrangements to give perfection to his supreme glories. It is for enjoyment's sake. When a father plays with his little son and the father lies down on the floor as if defeated by the son, it is just to give the little son pleasure and nothing more. Because the Lord is all-powerful, it is possible for him to adjust opposites such as birth and no birth, power and defeat, fear and fearlessness. A pure devotee knows very well how it is possible for the Lord to adjust opposite things. But he laments for the non-devotees who, not knowing the supreme glories of the Lord, think of him as imaginary simply because there are so many apparently contradictory statements in the scriptures. Factually, there is nothing contradictory. Everything is possible when we understand the Lord as the Lord and not as one of us with all our imperfection.
Any thoughts on that?
It seems an obvious point, but yeah, it's like people mock Krishna, or he had so many girlfriends, he did this and that. But they don't understand the reasonings behind it and what it, you apply your material experiences and senses to it. So like Prabhupada said, you think his dealings with the gopis are on the same lowly level that we experience relationships in this material world, and the whole appearance and disappearance. I mean, he's God, so he can make a grand appearance as he wants and the disappearance as he wants. It's interesting. There was I was supposed to see it yesterday. It was on the news, and somehow God came into the picture, and someone was criticizing, like, people believe in this. It was some Iman, but we won't get into that. But he was talking about certain things going on, and someone said, "Oh, he believes in fairy tales and this, and there is no proof of the existence of God." So someone counteracted and said, "Well, why don't you prove he doesn't exist?" And then he couldn't say anything. In your experience of this huge world, or even in your little universe, but just prove there is no controller behind it all. Just prove actually how it's occurring. And then there was no comment,
It's quite amazing that, because that shows how expert God is. That he can make himself completely invisible to the non-believers.
Yes.
And at the same time simultaneously completely visible to the believers, It shows his expertise, really. Interesting. So we're on text 17 next, right? Lord Krishna begged pardon from his parents for their, Krishna and Balaram's, inability to serve their feet due to being away from home because of great fear of Kamsa. He said, "O mother, O father, please excuse us for this inability. All this behavior of the Lord gives me pain at heart." So it's interesting because even though we're in the third canto, but by the association of Uddhav and of course Maitreya, then Uddhav is transporting us in one sense to the 10th canto, to Krishna's pastimes, by explaining how in that situation when Krishna and Balaram first met Vasudeva and Devaki, because remember they were separated at birth, then when they first met with them and Mathura after the killing of Kamsa, then they were apologizing, which in one sense is crazy, Please excuse us, for being separated from you and not worshiping your feet. It appears that Lord Krishna and Baladev were both very greatly afraid of Kamsa, and therefore they had to hide themselves. But if Lord Krishna and Baladev are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how is it possible that they were afraid of Kamsa? Is there any contradiction in such statements? Vasudeva, due to his great appreciation for Krishna, wanted to give him protection. He never thought that Krishna was the Supreme Lord and could protect himself. He thought of Krishna as his son. Because Vasudeva was a great devotee of the Lord, he did not like to think that Krishna might be killed like his other children. Morally, Vasudeva was bound to deliver Krishna to the hands of Kamsa because he had promised to turn over all his children. But out of his great love for Krishna, he broke his promise, and the Lord was very pleased with Vasudeva for his transcendental mentality. He did not want to disturb the intense affection of Vasudeva, and thus he agreed to be carried by his father to the house of Nanda and Yashoda. And just to test the intense love of Vasudeva, Lord Krishna fell down in the waters of the Jamuna while his father was crossing the river. Vasudeva became mad after his child as he tried to recover him in the midst of the rising river.
These are all glorified pastimes of the Lord, and there is no contradiction in such manifestations. Since Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he was never afraid of Kamsa, but to please his father he agreed to be so. And the most brilliant part of his supreme character was that he begged pardon from his parents for being unable to serve their feet while absent from home because of fear of Kamsa. The Lord, whose lotus feet are worshipped by demigods like Brahma and Shiva, wanted to worship the feet of Vasudeva. Such instruction by the Lord to the world is quite appropriate. Even if one is the Supreme Lord, one must serve his parents. A son is indebted to his parents in so many ways, and it is the duty of the son to serve his parents, however great the son may be. Indirectly, Krishna wanted to teach the atheists who do not accept the supreme fatherhood of God, and they may learn from this action how much the Supreme Father has to be respected. Uddhav was simply struck with wonder by such glorious behavior of the Lord, and he was very sorry that he was unable to go with him.
Yeah, amazing. Prabhupada kind of picks up on this point that, that Krishna and Balaram were afraid of Kamsa, which really they weren't afraid of him. In the end, they took his backside, but still, he's saying that this may seem a contradiction. How would God be afraid of such a personality? But they're not really, and it's just all pastime to enhance and expand the loving relationships and loving dealings. Goodness gracious. In text 18. Who, after smelling the dust of his lotus feet even once, could ever forget it? Simply by expanding the leaves of his eyebrows, Krishna was given the death blow, or has given the death blow to those who were burdening the earth. Purport. Lord Krishna cannot be accepted as one of the human beings, even though he played the role of an obedient son. His actions were so extraordinary that by the simple raising of his eyebrows, he could deliver death blows to those who were burdening the earth. Nice descriptions of Krishna.
Text 19. You have personally seen how the king of Chedi, Shishupal, achieved success in yoga practice, although he hated Lord Krishna. Even the actual yogis aspire after such success with great interest by performance of their various practices. Who can tolerate separation from him? Purport. Lord Krishna's causeless mercy was exhibited in the great assembly of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He was merciful even to his enemy, the king of Chedi, who always tried to be an envious rival of the Lord. Because it is not possible to be a bona fide rival of the Lord, the king of Chedi was extremely malicious toward Lord Krishna. In this, he was like many other asuras, such as Kamsa and Jarasam. In the open assembly of the Rajasuya sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira, Shishupal insulted Lord Krishna, and he was finally killed by the Lord. But it was seen by everyone in the assembly that a light flashed out of the body of the king of Chedi and merged into the body of Lord Krishna. This means that Chedi Raj achieved the salvation of attaining oneness with the Supreme, which is a perfection most desired by the Jnanis and Yogis, and for which they execute their different types of transcendental activities.
Yeah, this interesting section about discussion about how how people can achieve success in yoga even if they don't like Krishna, because the processes that the Lord has set up, they obviously work. Yeah, how merciful is that? That even people who don't care about him or don't even believe in him, he still gives them benedictions and benefits by the performance of activities that he set up and put in motion for everyone to be benefited from. So, and it's interesting how Uddha was describing here that, he's describing that glorious nature, and then he's explaining how one can feel such separation from such an amazing personality. It's really brilliant. Yeah, and then of course this whole section about Shishupal and how he was how he was still benefited, and he received the liberation that the yogis, the great yogis, aspire after, and he was really a fierce enemy of Krishna. So like that. So last purport of that section. It is a fact that persons who are trying to understand the supreme truth by their personal endeavors of mental speculation or mystic powers of yoga achieve the same goals as others who are personally killed by the Lord. Both achieve the salvation of merging into the Brahmajyoti rays of the transcendental body of the Lord. The Lord was merciful even to his enemy, and the success of the king of Chedi was observed by everyone who was present in the assembly. Vidura was also present there, and therefore Uddha referred the incident to his memory. So Uddha was present when Shishupal merged into the body of Krishna, so he saw it. So he's just remembering Krishna through this situation.
Alright, text 20. Certainly others who were fighters on the battlefield of Kurukshetra were purified by the onslaught of Arjuna's arrows, and while seeing the lotus-like face of Krishna, so pleasing to the eyes, they achieved the abode of the Lord. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, appears in this world for two missionary purposes: to deliver the faithful and to